This lesson is about angles, and it also shows an introduction of it. This project is by me, Ashley Lee. First of all, these are the basics. We need to know the vocab, which is vertex, where the edges meet, ray, a line that has a starting point but no end point, so it will go on forever because there's no end point. An angle, which is two rays with a common endpoint. So in other words, an angle is about two rays, or it could be two legs or two sides with the vertex because the vertex is a common endpoint. It's another word for it. I have multiple examples, but the first one is a small angle example here. This is example 1. So I highlighted these two rays to emphasize that they are rays, and you can tell by that because there's a starting point here, but there's no end point for these, for A and B. That means it goes on forever, which is an example of a ray, exactly. In the next box, you can see that I highlighted C as pink. I made it a different color so we can emphasize that it's in the middle of these two. Most angles look like this, but I drew this one to show the vertex and the rays clearly. The vertex is C, which I already mentioned before, but notice that it's in the middle of the angle between BCA and ABC. ABC is here, A, B, C, and BCA is here, B, C, A. C is always going to be in the middle of these, which is why I put it in the middle and highlighted in pink. Here in the next box, I drew this one so we can show that there are more complicated types. They look more complicated, but once you look at it more deeper in, it's not as hard as you think. The angles are in basically every corner, and you can see in this one, it'll be angle G. And this is a perfect example of a ray too, because there's a starting point, but there's no end point because there's an arrow, so it goes on forever. This is another example. I drew these two to show that we can estimate the degree, the answer, because if you tell here, this one obviously can't be it can't be 100 degrees because this is less than a right angle. It has to be something around 30 degrees or 40 degrees. So you can tell by how open it is. This one's less open. So you can tell it's going to be less than 90 degrees and even less than 70 degrees. On the other hand, this one here is more open, and it is larger than 90 degrees, so it obviously have to be larger than 90 degrees because that's a right angle, and this is not a right angle. This you can estimate to be about 110 degrees. That would be a pretty good estimate, because it's not way bigger than 90 degrees, but it is slightly over that. And you can also tell by the angle sizes. This one's small, and this one's larger, more wide. Okay, so this is the last example to show multiple line segments and multiple angles. It could be confusing to say which is which. For example, this bottom angle right here, it would be easy to just call it P because that's the point right there. But no, that's not it. It's labeled as PQ. You need to put the whole thing because it's one single line segment. It's not half cut or half parted. And to the right here, I put these angles to show which one it is. So PQ is here, PQ. And that's not the only one you can do. You can even do it the opposite way, which is QP. I put it right here. Another angle is VA, VA. And another one is AV, AV. Here. Normally you need numbers here, but in this case you don't need it because I'm just explaining the types of rays and angles. Like this one is not a ray. I was explaining what a line segment is, and this is a perfect example of a line segment or lines. Also, this one here is not an example of array because there are endpoints on each side. Also, when you label it just as I have mentioned before, you can't put this one as V. This whole thing cannot be V. You need to put VA, angle VA, or angle AV. Alright, so this is a review. This lesson was just based on introduction on angles. And the vocab we should know for this lesson is vertex, ray, angle, line, and line segment. We already went over vertex, ray, and angle, and I already explained what a line, segment, and line is, but just to say it one more time, a line is basically just what it is, a line with points on each side, and every point has to be inside the line and it cannot go out of the endpoint. A line segment is very similar. It's a line with endpoints on each side. Alright, so this wraps up this lesson on angles. Thanks for watching and listening.